So good morning to everybody once again. And let's start our today's talk with the Vedic prayer. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramay, sarve bhadrani paschantu, ma kaschit dukbhag bhavet. In the last session, we discussed about time and space, which are very subtle existence and their power. Now we will go even deeper today. Let's go back to the example of the tree which we discussed in the past. We can see the visible tree, and then you can even see the roots after a while. But that requires some special effort to see the roots. Similarly, you can see the building from outside, but the foundation on which it is standing, it would require a special effort to see. Now, today we will go beyond this uh, actually sensible and even deeper sensible. Let me give you an example before we proceed on that line. How do we get our knowledge? What are the instruments available at our disposal for knowledge? For getting any knowledge in this world, you need three things. One is that you are the subject. Then you need an object. For example, you want to observe a plant. Now the plant is your object. You observe with the instruments which are available with you. Those are the sense organs. And what you finally understand is the knowledge. You get the knowledge about the plant, that this is the plant of this and this variety. These are its special features. These are its properties and all that. So in Sanskrit, this is called Gyata, Gyan, and Ge. Gyata is the person who is trying to understand the thing. Gyan comes from the object you are observing, and Ge is the process of understanding the whole process. Now, understand it from a different perspective. How do you come into this world? The things exist. For example, before you came, the earth existed, the cities existed. You came, you started observing those cities, observing those whatever existence you saw, and you started gaining the knowledge. That is the knowledge. That is the process you gain the knowledge. You meet somebody and you try to understand, you get the knowledge. This is one way of looking at it. But reverse the process. Do the things exist before you know them? Think, think about this little seriously. Do the things exist before you know them? That is the question. And that is a very fundamental question. When we sleep in the night, you have dreams. In the dream, you see variety of things. Do you really, you know, those things, none of them really exist in physical world, but you see them there. This is what we call an illusion. It's a dream state of mind where you see things which are non-existent, but because you have that consciousness inside you, you can see those things. Similarly, the things which exist, you will not see them unless you are observing them. So there are three variations here. Things you observe, you see them, you understand them. Things that do not exist, but still you see them because there is a state of consciousness under which you can see. And the third one is the the combination of the two, the things exist, the things do not exist, and you still see them, you don't see them. Now, this is very important to understand the nature, because today we are going into the nature of consciousness. What is the nature of consciousness? And to understand that, we have to go a little deeper into some of these aspects. Now, anything which has an independent existence, you can understand that existence. For example, take an example of a hot potato. Now, potato has an existence. The heat of the potato came from the water. You put it into the hot water. The heat came from the water. When you bring out again the potato, after a while, the heat will go away. The potato will remain as it is, of course, in different shape. The heat came from the water. The water became hot because of the pot. So the heat was transferred from the pot. Once you remove the pot from the fire, the pot will also become normal. So the heat was transferred from fire to pot to water to potato. And then it was untransferred, it disappeared. So anything, this heat did not have independent existence. But the fire from where the heat came, that had independent existence. You cannot take out heat from that fire and call it fire. There's no fire without heat. That is the intrinsic property of the heat or of the fire. So that intrinsic property gives it independent existence. Let's take another example. You have gold ornaments in a jewelry shop. For example, you have a bangle, you have a ring. Now, if I tell you to take the gold out of that bangle and leave the bangle, can you do that? You cannot do that. It is the gold which makes the bangle. It is the gold which makes the ring. You cannot take the gold out and leave the ring there. It's not possible. It is different from potato. In case of potato, the heat went out, but the potato still remained. From the pot, the heat went out, the pot still remained. So there are different variety of existences. One existence which transfers or transforms from one form to another, and then that transformation disappears after a while. That is the example of heat. The example of gold, where the existence itself is, is there in that form. If you can take it out, it will be destroyed. It will not exist anymore. Now, these examples are also relevant for us. For example, our body. We were child 5 years old. That time, the body was different. Still, I existed when I was 5 years old. Then I became 15-year-old teenager. The body became different, body changed. I still existed. Then I became 30 years old. The body again changed. I became young. And I still existed. Similarly, you become old, and till your last moment, the body keep taking change, making changes. The shapes change, the energy change, the inside, what you call cell system entirely changes. But there is something constant which remains inside the body. So these are some examples to understand the nature of consciousness. Now, nature of consciousness is such that we cannot actually understand it through our sense organs. I'm taking little text from Keno Upanishad, which describes this phenomenon very nicely. The one of the slokas there, it says, "Na tatra chakshum gacchati, na vak gacchati, no mano, no vigyo, na vijatimo. It means that consciousness is such a subtle existence that the eyes cannot go there. Na chakshu gacchati, the eyes cannot go there. Na vak gacchati, your ears cannot go there. Your mind cannot go there. Your intellect cannot go there. You cannot grasp that consciousness through any one of them. It further explains that you cannot see that consciousness with eyes because it is that very consciousness which enables your eyes to see. You cannot hear that consciousness with your ears because it is that very consciousness which enables your ears to hear. You cannot understand that consciousness with your mind because it is the movement of the mind, it is that very consciousness which makes the movement of the mind possible. So this is the explanation given there. Now, this is what we call language of paradox, that you cannot understand it, but still we are trying to make you understand. You know, in lot of religious texts, not only in Vedanta or Upanishad, but also in Bible, you will find these paradoxical texts. Like when describing this universal consciousness, which is also called Brahma, which is you can call him by any name, it says that it is smaller than the smallest and bigger than the biggest. Now this is a paradoxical statement that it stays stable, doesn't move anywhere, but it moves faster than the fastest. So these are paradoxical statements because language has limitations. We must understand this limitation of language. Certain things cannot be expressed through language. And this is one of those things. Shankaracharya said that you can understand language if it has one of the five properties. What are those properties? Jati, that is either it has a class of its own or it has attributes, gun, it has attributes, or it has an action, kriya, or it has a relationship like father and son, or it has a convention. Now let me explain this little bit. Jati means, for example, you look at cow and you say this is cow because it is a very different species than the other species of animals. Animal is one species, out of that cow is one species. You can say species of birds and you can say the peacock is a particular species of bird. So these species enables you to express yourself in language. It may be class, it may be species, it may be classification based on certain things. The second thing is that it should have one of the five. It can have qualities. For example, something is yellow, yellow colored flower. You want to say this flower, it is yellow, that is a specific quality. That tall man, the tall or the short or the white or the black, now these are the qualities. On using these qualities, you can describe a thing, you can use language. Third is an action. For example, somebody is doing the cooking, you say cook. Somebody is driving car, a driver. A speaker, for example, I'm speaking today, you say the speaker. So you can describe an action and use that action to describe that particular action in language. The fourth is relationship, like colleagues, college mates. That is a relationship. Father, son, husband, wife, you know, friends, all these relationships you can use to describe things in language. And last is what you call convention. You have given some convention, some name to something. For example, you have given a name to a building, temple. Now this is a name given to that, and that is you can describe. My name is Gauri Shankar, so my name is given to me. It's just given to me. There's no specific reason why, but that enables you to describe who is this person. If none of the five exist, you cannot use language. Now, consciousness does not have any of these five characteristics. It does not have any specific jati or specific class because it is uh, omnipresent, it's everywhere. It does not have any specific action because it doesn't do anything. It's absolutely dormant. It does nothing, you see, and still it does everything. And then it does not have any quality. There's no, it's called nirgun. It has no gun, no specific attributes at all. It has no relationship because there cannot be two consciousness. There's only one single consciousness oh, everywhere. Like this Akash, it's only one single Akash. Cannot have any relationship. Nor can it have a convention because you can call it consciousness. You can say this is the convention you call it, but you call it without understanding what it is. So consciousness cannot be understood with our sense organs. This is one very clear phenomenon. And this consciousness runs everything that exists in this world. Let me give you example once again of that electric supply. Now, electric supply comes to a refrigerator operates. It comes to a heater, it operates. It comes to a computer, it operates. If there's no electricity supply there, it doesn't operate. Now, electricity supply, you cannot see it. You cannot see electricity. You can only see the function of the electricity. You can see the function in a bulb or in a tube light or in a computer or in a refrigerator, but I know nobody who can tell you that this is electricity existing here. It doesn't. You cannot see it without function. So it is manifested in a form which functions. Precisely the same way, the consciousness is making our human system operational. Without that consciousness, this system does not work. It will collapse and one would be dead. Nothing will work, neither your mind nor your sense organs. So the consciousness you cannot see, but it makes your system work. Now, how do we understand? If it cannot be seen, if it cannot be heard, if it cannot be even thought by mind, cannot be understood by intellect, how do we understand? Yes, there are methods to understand. On the one hand, there is uh, negativity, neti neti. On the other hand, there are positive sides of understanding it. As we discussed the case of a tree, the tree is standing on the roots which are not visible, but then it comes from a small seed where no tree is visible. You put the seed in the earth with photosynthesis process, it grows and turns into a big large tree. Now no tree is seen into that seed in the, if you can crush it, you will not find it there. Moreover, not only that, how that property came into that seed, who brought that property into the seed, who put that inside, who put the property into the gold, that gold can melt only at this particular temperature. So how that system works, we need to understand it in a very profound way, slowly. So I'll take some example from Mandukya Upanishad today. Mandukya Upanishad starts with the word Om and explains that whole universe is Om. But it says in the very next sentence, I am Atma Brahm. Ki this myself is Brahm. And then it describes that self in different ways. So in order to understand this process, I would give you the very famous story of Janak. King Janak was very well-known king in the olden age. And you know his daughter was Sita, who was married to Ram. He was actually dedicated person to knowledge. He used to invite a lot of uh, you know wise people to his court to understand the real nature of this universe. So he was deeply interested in spiritual thinking and to understand this nature of existence. One day he was sleeping in the night. He was a big, you know, big king, and his kingdom was very large. In the night, he was in a dream, and in the dream, his chief of his army came to ask him that the neighboring king has invaded. Please uh, get up and let's get ready, and the soldiers should be ready. So he asked his chief of the army that, okay, let's put our forces ready and we should go and fight. He starts fighting with the neighboring king who attacked his kingdom. The two armies fought. It was a big battle. He lost the battle, and finally the neighboring king who won the battle, who gave him he asked him to go out of the kingdom. He was sent into exile. Now the king keeps walking to get out of the kingdom. Nobody is entertaining him because they feel that if he's entertained, maybe the new king will become angry with them and they will be punished. So he is hungry, he is thirsty, but he walks and finally he crosses the border. He went to the other kingdom after crossing the border. Since he was very hungry, he was looking for food. He found that there was a big, you know, public uh, place for eating, something like langar. And people were given food. So he took one of the plates and stood in the queue to take his food. By the time his turn came, there was only a small portion of the food was left, which was put into his plate. But by the time the food was put, a crow came from the sky and the whole plate fell down, and the king was still hungry and he was almost on the verge of crying. And at this very moment, he woke up. And then he was completely astonished. He just kept repeating one thing, that is this right or is that right? Is this right or is that right? His wife saw him repeating this again and again. She could not understand. Then she called the chief minister of the state, and the king was just telling, is this real or is that real? Is this real or is that real? Nobody understood what he meant. Then there was a very well-known saint of that time called Astavakra. So Astavakra was invited to the palace to see what has happened to the king. Has he gone mad? What is happening to him? So Astavakra came and the king was saying exactly the same thing again and again. Is this right or is this right? Is this real or is this real? These are the words he has been repeating. Astavakra immediately understood what he meant. So he asked him what happened. So the king narrated his dream, and then he was sitting in his kingdom, surrounded by his army, with his ministers, with all the opulence of a kingdom. So he was saying, is this right where I'm sitting, or was that right when I was in the night there? What is right? So Astavakra asked him simply that neither this is right, neither this is real, nor that was real. What was real then? He says, okay, you were here. Yes, I'm here. I'm sitting right here. You were there. Yes, I was there in the dream. So you are the only one who is real. Neither that dream was real nor this place where you are sitting is real. You are the only reality. The existence which you observe as knowledge is because of you. The existence is not that you grasp and you take it as knowledge. No, it is you grasp that and you get knowledge because of the consciousness. So I don't know whether I could make it clear. Everything in this universe is the play of consciousness. This is what I would like to say. There is no reality anywhere. I'm not saying this world is not real. Let's forget about that part. But this world is real only as long as you have consciousness in yourself. That consciousness makes this thing real. As soon as that consciousness goes out of this body, there is no world. There's no reality, no existence. So everything is consciousness. That is the meaning. Play of consciousness. Now, just to elaborate it further, you have, this is again Mandukya Upanishad. It's a very short Upanishad, but very profound Upanishad. In that, we have three states of our consciousness which we observe every single day. Every single day. This is the state which is called Vaisnava when we are in the physical shape. We can touch things physically. We can observe things which are physically in existence. This is called Vaisnava state, or the state in which the physical existence can be felt. That is the one state. You can call it waking state in English. The second state is the dream state. Dream state is the one where you do not exist physically. You exist in the form of a ray. It's called in Sanskrit Tejas Avastha. Tejas means you exist in the form of tej of the, like the sun rays have tejas. Same way you exist that way. You exist in the form of light. Now, imagine when you sleep in the night, your body doesn't exist, your senses are not working, but despite that, you destroy this entire world. This world doesn't exist. Even the bed on which you are sleeping does not exist. And you create a new world. You create a new world where you have your own friends and your own enemies, and you talk to people and you eat and you drink and you fight and you quarrel and you love, you do everything what you do here. And there you do in a world which you have created. How that world came into being, how this world was destroyed, it's purely because of consciousness. The the because of the consciousness, one fabric of the mind becomes object, another fabric becomes subject, and then the dreaming process starts. Because without object subject, there can be no dreaming. For in the dream, you have to have some object. You are the subject, but you are the only one there. But the consciousness converts one small fabric of your mind into subject, another fabric into object. The whole current world where you are sitting is destroyed, a new world is created where you exist, you perform all the things which you do right now in the waking state, and you feel that is real. Nobody ever feels the dream is not real as long as he is in the dream. But when you wake up from the dream, you say it was only a dream. It doesn't exist. So that is the play of the consciousness. That is the second play. The first play is the waking state. This is the play of consciousness. That is the second play of consciousness. Then you go into a deep sleep into the night with no dreams. Then what happens? Nothing exists. Everything is destroyed. This world is destroyed. The dream world is destroyed. You yourself is destroyed. Nothing exists. And still in the morning when you wake up, you say, I had a wonderful sleep. How do you know you had a wonderful sleep? Who told you? There was a consciousness when you were asleep. That consciousness observed all that. And this is called pragyavastha, that is the deep sleep, state of deep sleep. So in all these three states of your consciousness, what exists is you. Neither this world, nor dream world, nor the deep sleep world. What prevails everywhere is you. Your consciousness prevails. And therefore, this whole world which we see is play of consciousness. And this consciousness you cannot understand with your sense organs, because this consciousness makes everything play. This very consciousness makes your sense organs work, your mind work. How can you see it? For seeing, you have to have a subject and object. For consciousness, there is no subject and object. It's pure one. There is no object. And therefore, you can never see this consciousness through your sense organs. But in a deep state of meditation, people are able to see that consciousness, how it exists. That's a very different, elevated state of consciousness. So that is what Mandukya Upanishad says, Ayam Atma Brahma. No. And then it says, Nanta Pragyam na Bahis Pragyam, no Bhayat Pragyam na Pragyanam Pradham na Pragyam na Pragyam. It's a very profound statement, not easy to explain, but it says that you are not what is inside, you are not what is outside. You are not what is inside and outside both. That is ubhyote, what exists inside and outside. You are not what is you are in deep sleep. You are beyond all that. You are the fourth state. That's what they called it, Turiya state also. The inside state, which is the one which enables you to have the dream state, that is the inside. Outside state is the one which enables you to see this universe. That is the Vaisnava Avastha, the waking state. And inner state is the dream state. And both beyond that. And then the third one is what they call Pragyandhanam state. That is the state of deep sleep. So you are not any of those, but you are there in every one of them. And that thing which is there in every one of them is you. That is consciousness. So the thing which exists when you are a child, when you are young as teenager, when you are youth, when you are grown up, uh, when you are old, that thing exists with you all the time, and that is consciousness. So it, that consciousness is the insensible of the insensible, mother of the insensible, you can call it. That is not insensible like space and time, which we discussed last time. It is beyond that. At that consciousness makes the entire play of this world. We were talking how the quality of a seed comes into seed. That is because of that consciousness. How the light and heat comes into fire. It is because of that consciousness. How the life come into being. It is because of that consciousness. Kenopanishad gives an example which is I should tell you, but it is not the way it is interpreted by most people. It is not exactly that meaning. It is a very different meaning. It gives an example of the Indra and his kingdom, the Devta, and they won a battle against the Asuraj, and they were very proud that okay, we have won the battle and we can do everything. We have all this. So the Almighty appeared in the form of Yaksh into the sky, and there was a huge light. So Indra thought that we should see what is this. So he sent fire, the god of fire, outside to go and see what is this light. So god of fire went and met Yaksh and said, "What is this? Who are you?" He said, "I am Yaksh." And Yaksh asked him, "Who are you?" "I am fire." "What do you do, fire?" "I can burn anything in this universe." So the Yaksh put a small little tinka, a small little, piece of wood in front, and she burned it. And with all the power that the fire had, the fire could not burn that small tinka. And the fire went back to Indra and said, "No." Uh, the fire told the entire story to Indra that this is what happened. Then Indra asked Vayu to go out and see what is this, what is happening. So Vayu went out, the the god of Pavan, Vayu. And Vayu asked Yaksh, "Who are you?" "I am Yaksh." And Yaksh asked Vayu, "Who are you?" "I am Vayu." "What is your property? What do you do?" "I can blow anything in this world. I have such a strong, uh, you know, waves that anything can be blown away." So he again put the same tinka in front of Vayu and say, "Blow it away." With all the force, the Vayu could not blow that away, and went back and told Indra. Now, the crux of the story is not whether it happened or not, whether there's a truth in those characters or not. The truth of the story is, or the moral of the story is, that every single power which is invested into anything that exists in this world comes from that one single source called consciousness. The power of the fire, the power of the wind, the power of the sun, the power of the moon, the power of the human being, the power of a bird, the power of a stone, all that comes from that consciousness which empowers everything in this universe. That is behind the scene. It runs the universe. I mentioned last time that there are 5 different varieties of consciousness. That is the mineral regime, the plant regime, the animal regime, the human regime, and the universal consciousness. So exactly that power, that consciousness is behind everything in the universe, but it is not visible, it is not sensible. Without that, nothing can operate. It makes everything operate, but you cannot have any qualities. Since it does not have any quality, you cannot understand that power through our normal sense organs. So that is where I would conclude today. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But this is a subject which requires one more session sometime later, because this is a very profound knowledge how to understand consciousness in this universe. So maybe at some stage later we'll take one more session with in a different perspective to make it understand. But if you have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer them. Thank you.